I wish you a very happy and prosperous New Year 2025. Through you, therefore, to all the staff working at the institution, the Presidency of FASO, I wish that 2025 will be a year full of health for you, your family, and your loved ones, so that you can give the best of yourself in working for the happiness of our people. May 2025 be a year where you see all your projects crowned with success, prosperity, and above all, that throughout the year, that God therefore guides our actions, protects us, and watches over us. I also want to remind everyone that the fight against imperialism must be integrated into our genes. Now, it must be a struggle that is being waged relentlessly and every day, because many people have not understood what this fight is. So far, our fighting forces are on the ground and lead the fight against the manipulated servants, the criminals who score our countryside every day, and are holding firm to bring back peace in our dear Faso. As much as they do, our working masses of the people who are farmers, breeders, are also fighting so that we can achieve food self-sufficiency through the support of all technicians from the Ministry of Agriculture. This is very important, and as much as they also fight in the administration, we will have to fight to change our mentality. This mental decolonization is the most difficult part, and that is why we want to constantly remind you that we must change our mentality, return to our roots, and fight. And this is also the fight against imperialism. Every opportunity is offered to us to be able to understand imperialism, its manifestation. When I take lately Emmanuel Macron's remark on Africa, every conscious African will therefore have to understand very quickly all that he was able to tell us. And what does that mean? General Tiani said not long ago about the change of tactics and the strategies of French forces in Africa. And I think he came to confirm it. It's about dissolving and maintaining a system without a fight. And Emmanuel Macron said it so well that we can only thank him for this sincerity, even if some wanted to pull the wool over the eyes of their population. But reality eventually catches up too. They will not leave certain countries. They just dissolved the system. You won't see them in military bases, but in the embassies they will be there. They will form security companies to secure their companies that exist in these countries, but they will be there. But you see them more in uniform or gathered in pieces. That's all it means. They are going to reorganize, but they will be there. He spoke about politeness towards certain heads of state by giving them the priority to announce the break or the departure of French forces. It doesn't matter to us, you might say, but all we know is that if you want a break with these imperialist forces, it's simple. We denounce the agreements. Everything starts there. And I think that the example of Chad in any case is palpable. They started by denouncing the agreements under the old regime, the agreements, just saying that the bases leave, nothing has been done because the problem lies in the colonial agreements, defense agreements that have been signed since independence. The most dangerous ones are not the ones that you see in the bases. The most dangerous ones are the military advisors. Military advisors exist in all these countries. They also existed in Burkina until 2022, until we took our responsibility. And who are these military advisors? They are the ones who are supposed to put into practice the policy of France here. We must work to make our armies very weak, so that France can always have the argument of existing here. Under Blaise Compaoré, they had succeeded. Our soldiers therefore took up guard duty with sticks. This is what France wants from our armies. When we got to this stage, we had no choice than to warn them to come and sit. But the Burkinabe army did not succeed at one point to get rid of the military advisors. Unfortunately, I think that in 2019, after the Aupano operation, where these French people saw that the Burkinabe army still had the capacity to respond to terrorism, they called the chief of staff to France and instructed him to resume the military advisors throughout the structure. Well, he didn't accept, but on returning home, the politicians instructed him to accept military advisors, and that's when the military advisors returned to the army in Burkina Army in 2019. With all the consequences that we know, the army was about to disappear in the years 2020-2021. And besides, this is the time when many soldiers had to desert because they had no hope anymore. We were falling apart. This is a bit like how they work at the general staff, general of the armies in all army headquarters, in schools. They are the ones who are supposed to dictate our army policy. They are the ones who tell us how many to recruit and what to do with them. They are in the schools to tell us how to train them and so on. As long as these military advisors are there, you are not independent. Your army will just look like an army that will be there doing circus parades. But when war comes, you will realize that the parade is one thing, but war is another thing. We must break these agreements. This is the only way to have an independent army and build ourselves to be strong. But many people don't understand that perhaps. And even with these agreements, France chooses student officers in our states to go and train them through these same agreements. But in reality, these officers go to train for the most part in France. They come to serve the French state in our countries. They do not come to serve their countries. They train them so that they can come and serve the interests of the French state. As proof, when we revolted, many officers in Burkina who are trained in France were immediately contacted and told that it's time to take action because you are trained for that, to serve the interests of France. Most of these officers reported to us. We took note and we continued to follow up. When an officer trained in France arrives in his country and unfortunately dies either by accident or on the battlefield, in France, there's a night of homage to the dead in the army, as everywhere else on the night of the homage of the dead. The name of the officer in question is mentioned and it's said that he died for France. They don't train him to serve his country. They train him to serve their state. And in many African states, there are plenty of these officers. How many are patriots? God knows. This is a lesson that Emmanuel Macron has given again to the African heads of state to catch up and to really be able, in addition to that, to lead this fight against imperialism. But on top of that, he also insulted all Africans in his remarks. This is one part that caught my attention there, yes, talking of ingratitude, and that ingratitude is a disease that cannot be transmitted to humans. He is human. Our ingratitude is not transmissible to him. This is how this gentleman see Africa, and even Africans. We are not human in his eyes. Maybe he's the one who's not human. He's not even the class of humans. But if he's really ungrateful, it is he. I think that if he did not hate, and if he prays every morning and he wakes up, he should also pray to Africans. Because it is thanks to our ancestors that France exists today. He will have to pray to us. In his eyes, we must not be human. We are more than humans. These are very strong messages that he passed. I cry for the French people, but still, he's good for Africa. He's a necessary evil for those who want to wake up. Wake up those who do not want to wake up. As they say, you cannot wake up someone who's not sleeping. Africans must wake up. We must work to be independent, to do the least, that our people experience happiness in the fight against imperialism. That's it. We must decolonize mentalities. Take all of this information into account, because the world gives me so many examples to see. For them, there's no morality. They can point you out today, call you a terrorist, but tomorrow, you're a hero. By their mere mouth, they decide what they do. They talk about democracy, but they themselves carry out constitutional coups among themselves. They talk about human rights, but they decimate populations elsewhere. Africans must wake up, Africa must wake up, and the fight against imperialism is permanent. And I invite you to incorporate this fight, to work so that we are truly independent, that we are self-sufficient and can develop, so that we can know happiness, which is what our people aspire to. Thank you. I wish you a very good day, a very good week, and a very happy new year. And that at the end of this year 2025, looking back, we have to tell ourselves that we have brought a great plus to our nation. Thank you very much, everyone. God bless you. May God protect our dear homeland. Homeland or death, we will win.